Thank you for joining us on the news. I'm Ruth Aguele. You can watch this news on Vision TV 247 and all the social media platforms displayed on the screen right now. My sign language interpreter is Franklin Effie. Let's bring you the headlines. President Bola Tinubu receives leaders of Afenifere, warns those threatening the sovereignty and unity of Nigeria. Federal government deploys heavy-duty equipment to assist small farmers boost agricultural activities for food security. And federal government insists no tele-maize yet in local market. Coming from the presidency is a stern warning that those who plan to threaten the sovereignty as well as unity of Nigeria will have themselves to blame. President Bola Tinubu was that assertive when he received leaders of Afenifere, a pan-Yoruba group, in the State House. Let's get details from State House correspondent Musbahu Donwahab.
President Bola Tinubu is now on record as the first member of Afenifere to lead Nigeria. And the Yoruba socio-political group continues to relish this feat as the members were led to the presidential villa by Pa Reuben Fashoroti. It's a return visit from where they left off in Akure a few weeks ago. The group expressed satisfaction with what they regard as the giant strides of the administration, including infrastructural projects like the rehabilitation of the Third Mainland Bridge, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, among others. But they equally request the President's attention to other major federal roads, including the Ibadan-Ife-Ondo and Benin-Lagos roads.
Almost all these roads need urgent and comprehensive federal attention. Many of these roads require not just repairs, but rehabilitation. One major project that will benefit not just the Southwest, but the entire country is a rail link between Lagos and Abuja. This will be a great legacy for Your Excellency. Thank you.
And then, the President has some cheering news for his guests as he says his administration has continued to record successes in the fight against insecurity, including terrorism, banditry and kidnapping, and will not relent until a total victory is achieved to protect the sovereignty and unity of the country.
The case of Kuriga and many other kidnapped children is evident in the way we rescue them from Sokoto to Katsina to Kaduna and others, now more expeditiously than ever before. We are working hard on intelligent gathering and execution of our programs. Those that thought they can threaten the sovereignty of this country will have themselves to blame. They have a price to pay. And we are not going to relent in that area.
On social security, the administration has prepared programs including the conditional cash transfer and grants, the student loan, which is about to take off, as well as the unemployment allowance. And now, the President says the next flagship program of his administration, coming to reduce the propensity for corruption amongst Nigerians, is the consumer credit.
We have taken action, and you will soon hear the funding of consumer credit. If you eliminate the cash requirement to get a house by itself, even if it's a shared house, without furnishing. If you use consumer credit to control that, you will reduce the propensity for fraud and irregularities and corruption.
And the president leaves his visitors with a parting gift of hope that his administration remains focused on repositioning the economy of the country for the greater good of all Nigerians. From the State House, Musbah Wahab, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has commended the enterprising feat of Dangote Oil and Gas Limited in reducing the gantry price of automotive gas oil, that is diesel. The group recently reviewed downwards the gantry price of diesel from 1,650 to 1,000 naira per litre for a minimum of 1 million litres of the product, as well as providing a discount of 30 naira per litre for an offtake of 5 million litres and above. The price review represents a 60% drop, which will in no small measure impact the prices of sundry goods and services. The president calls on Nigerians and businesses to, at this time, put the nation in priority while assuring them of a conducive, safe and secured environment to thrive. The Nigerians and Diaspora Commission, NTAi, has secured a strategic cooperation and collaboration with the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, for diasporal engagement, particularly on youth empowerment to deepen socio-economic development of the country. The agreements reached was during a visit by USAID delegation to NTAi office in Abuja. Will also partner with the Commission on this year's National Diaspora Day celebrations. Chairman Nigerians and Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, said the collaboration is timely and appropriate as its content aligns with the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu's administration, which is intentional about sector reforms and youth empowerment.
It's going to be very powerful working with USAID. The focus on young people today advances generations to come. So our goal is to partner to ensure that we are addressing the needs of young people, that we are supporting them, that we are empowering them, because soon they will take the reins of the direction of this country.
Melissa Jones also noted that the diaspora is needed for development in Nigeria, as its most qualified and competent professionals in the U.S. are Nigerians, and she believes it will be an opportunity for Nigeria to relate strategically with its citizens abroad. There was a consensus for a strategic think tank between NTAi and USAID to flesh up cooperation and collaborations moving forward. In other news, United Nations envoy Abdoulaye Bathily has tendered his resignation to Secretary General Antonio Guterres, citing significant challenges in his mediation efforts as some of the reasons which formed his decision. Let's hear from Frama Panyi.
Bathily lamented that his attempts to foster dialogue and address concerns were met with stubborn resistance, unreasonable expectations, and indifference to the interests of the people of Libya. The former UN envoy, who assumed his role in September 2022, highlighted the crucial need for Libyan leaders to reach a political settlement through negotiations and compromise. He stressed the importance of prioritizing the aspirations of the 2.8 million registered Libyan voters over the narrow interest of a select few.
Libyan leaders must reach a political settlement based on negotiations and compromise. We cannot allow the aspirations of 2.8 million of registered Libyan voters to be overshadowed by the narrow interests of a few.
The resignation of Bathily raises concerns about the trajectory of UN mediation efforts in Libya and the ongoing quest for political stability in the conflict-ridden nation. With Bathily's departure, questions arise regarding the continuity of United Nations support missions in Libya leadership and the future direction of diplomatic initiatives aimed at resolving the crisis in Libya. Reports say the timing of Bathily's formal resignation remains unspecified, leaving uncertainties about the transition process and potential successors to lead UNSMIL. From Apani, NTA News.
United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has visited camps for internally displaced persons in the northeast of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Volker will also be meeting with President Felix Tshisekedi and members of the government, as well as the human rights defenders and civil society organizations. Here is Frama Panyi again.
The visit of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, is coming after attacks on civilians in the Beni region of Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo during the weekend. Between 10 and 15 civilians were killed, and the attacks were blamed on ADF rebels, which is affiliated with Islamic States. An official in the Mulekera town northwest of Beni, Antoine Kambale, narrating the incident, said 14 civilians were killed last Friday in several places in the neighborhood. He added that the assailants attacked and set ablaze a health center from which they looted medical supplies. This is similar to an incident which occurred 2 weeks ago in another Beni commune, Manjina, which saw 10 persons killed.
Just met with a group of people who had been displaced as a result of horrible violence. Massacres were committed in their homes, and they have been here for the last 4 years. Their most fervent wish is to be able to go back.
Mulekera Mayor Colonel Ngongo Mayanga gave a provisional death toll from the latest attacks at more than 10 civilians. The ADF, originally mainly Muslim Ugandan rebels who pledged allegiance in 2019 to ISIS, have established a presence over 3 decades in eastern DRC, killing thousands of civilians. Frama Panyi, NTA News.
A total of 14 Technical Aid Corps volunteers from Nigeria have been contracted by universities in Uganda, following their meritorious services in that country. They are part of the 39 volunteers who returned home from Uganda and Guinea-Bissau. Calvin Ehonwahi reports.
Affected volunteers had served in the universities for their 2-year TAC program. Director General of the Nigerian Technical Aid Corps, Dr. Buba Yusuf Yakub, who was excited about the development during their debriefing in Abuja, said it showed the success the scheme is making in Africa. He noted that through the NTAc scheme, Nigeria can become a hub for human capital supplies in Africa and boost the nation's image and revenue through remittances.
All of you occupied one portfolio or the other wherever you served. So that is a testimony that NTAc will always send out the best. When we do our selections, we always pick our first 11, as the footballers will say, to send out there, because we really want to impact in the lives of our sister countries.
What we have actually achieved during our stay there was that we were able to develop the manpower capacity of the university that we went, because we were able to, when you look at majority of the distribution among all of us, we were occupying one university position or another.
The team from Guinea-Bissau were also praised for their invaluable contribution to the development of the health sector of that country in particular. In Abuja, Kelvin Ebonwaye, NTA News.
Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution is working on a new template to address conflicts occasioned by urbanization and migration in Africa. Well, this is part of the outcome of a close-out meeting of researchers on migration, urbanization, and conflict in Africa held in Abuja. David Ire reports.
The researchers embarked on a mission to understand how migration and urbanization are aiding conflicts in Africa with a view to achieving a peaceful urban future. This meeting therefore seeks to provide a platform for the output of the research to be disseminated to strategic stakeholders, open up discussions and co-create recommendations for the increase in labor migration and economic conflict, governance and jurisdictional tensions, as well as identity-based conflict that has implications for a peaceful urban future.
Let us continue to build bridges across disciplines, sectors and borders to address the multifaceted challenges of migration and urbanization. At the end of this closeout meeting, We expect participants to have gained enhanced understanding of the intersection of migration, urbanization, and conflict, enhanced intersectoral relationship that can facilitate improvements in conflict management strategies at the city and national levels, and also become crusaders of this message.
The research is focusing mainly on situations in Nigeria, Uganda, and Ethiopia.
What we know is that Africa is the fastest growing continent, and a lot of the growth is directed at the urban. We also know that in a country like ours, Nigeria, we hit the urban majority in 2016, and that makes it more critical for us to look at the implications of practically everything that we do at the urban scape.
The research team spreads across the University of Jos and University of Lagos, both in Nigeria, Makerere University and Golo University, Uganda, Addis Ababa University and Hawassa University, Ethiopia, as well as the University of Sheffield, United Kingdom. In Abuja, David Ire, NTA News.
All right, let's go on a quick break. We're back in a moment. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. The Federal High Court, Abuja Division, has adjourned to 20th May 2024 to rule on the bail application of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. At the adjourned date, the court will also rule on the defendant's prayer for his removal from the custody of the Department of State Services to house arrest. Dele Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk reports.
The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, who is standing trial on allegation bordering on terrorism, brought two applications before the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja. The first application has to do with the prayer for the restoration of the defendant's revoked bail, while the second application was on the request for his removal from the custody of the Department of State Services to house arrest. Nnamdi Kanu, who has been in detention since 2021, in a motion argued by his counsel, requested the court to restore the bail granted him in 2017 by the trial judge, Justice Binta Nyako. The defense team told the court that contrary to the alleged claim of the federal government, he did not jump bail or breach any of the conditions of the bail, but had to escape out of the country when the military allegedly invaded his house. Nnamdi Kanu alleged the federal government of misleading the court to get his bail revoked in his absence. The defendant also prayed the court to set aside the arrest warrant issued against him by the court while he was out of the country. In addition, the defendant equally prayed the court that his lawyers must be allowed unhindered access to him to enable him prepare for his defense in the terrorism counts against him, adding that until those conditions are met by the federal government in line with Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, he will not submit himself for trial. However, the federal government's legal team led by Gboyega Awomolo SAN vehemently opposed granting of all the requests made by Kanu's legal team. Awomolo SAN told the court that in a criminal matter, no defendant has the right to dictate to the court how his prosecution would be conducted. The prosecution counsel also told the court that Kanu was once admitted to bail but breached the bail by escaping out of the country under false claims. Omolo SAN argued that the fresh request for bail by Kanu was a gross abuse of court process, having been rejected earlier by the same court, adding that the only option available to the defendant is to go to the Court of Appeal to challenge the rejection, since the High Court cannot overrule itself. On the request for removal from DSS custody, Awomolo SAN said that the only safe and secured environment for Kanu remains the DSS custody in the interest of safety of his life. He urged the court to dismiss the allegation of hindered access to lawyers by Kanu, adding that in his application and the supporting affidavit, Kanu failed to name any DSS operative hindering lawyers from accessing him. The matter has been adjourned to 20th May 2024 for ruling. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Still from the judiciary scene, the days when abuse of the nation's legal tender through spraying of naira notes at events was acceptable are over. Another case to buttress this is the arraignment of businessman and socialite Pascal Okechukwu, popularly known as Cubana Chief Priest. Diana Ajali reports that the Federal High Court in Lagos State granted him 10 million naira bail with 2 sureties and like sum.
Cubana chief priest was arraigned before Justice Kehinde Ogudare on 3 counts bordering on abuse of naira and allegedly spraying and tampering with the nation's currency at a social event in Lagos. Contrary to the provisions of the Central Bank Act, when the charges were read to him, he pleaded not guilty. Earlier, the defense counsel, Chika Osulu Ojukwu, SAN, informed the court of a preliminary objection challenging the court's jurisdiction and bail application filed on behalf of the defendants. The prosecutor, Bilikisu Buhari, did not oppose the bail application. Ojukwu urged the court to grant his client bail on liberal terms as he is a first offender with no past criminal records. The senior advocate also informed the court of the defendant's health condition, which predisposes him to palpitation due to his weight. The court, however, granted him bail in the sum of 10 million naira with 2 sureties in like sum. Cubana chief priest was alleged to have sprayed the naira notes on February 13, 2024, while dancing at a social event. The EFCC had on the 5th of April secured the conviction of popular cross-dresser Idris Okuneye, also known as Bobrisky, on similar charges. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
Authorities of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in the early hours of Wednesday stormed the Abuja residence of the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, located in Wuse Zone 4, Abuja, for a possible arrest in EFCC custody. The EFCC has been on the trail of the former governor over alleged misappropriation of funds. Let's hear from Olajide Bello.
The ever-busy Wuse Zone 4, with its usual BDC activities, wore a different look as operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission dotted the landscape of Benghazi Street on both sides, leading to the house of former governor Yahaya Bello. They saw youths from Kogi State initially displaying some tendencies of resistance, but the security apparatus of the Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo was more than enough to put the tense situation to calm and order. One after the other, National Assembly members of both the red and green chambers representing Kogi constituencies equally arrived for a closed-door session. After a long wait, the governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, made his way out, and some minutes afterwards, the EFCC operatives retreat without an arrest.
Some moments ago, the incumbent governor, Usman Ododo, just left the residence of the governor. And as you can see just behind me here, the operatives of the EFCC are already on standby. From all indications, they are ready to move anytime soon.
The anti-graft agency in the 17-count amended charge alleged Yahaya Bello for money laundering, breach of trust, and misappropriation of funds to the tune of 84 billion naira, diversion which was committed months before he assumed office in 2015. In other charges, the alleged suspect concealed several millions of naira with one Rabi Musa Tafada, a bureau de change operator in Abuja. Olajide Bello, NTA News.
The federal government is deploying heavy-duty equipment to assist small farmers boost their agricultural activities. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, says achieving food security requires strategic planning and conscious investments across all the food production value chain. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
Hoe and cutlass are the basic tools used by smallholder farmers in their agricultural activities. The tools are, although friendly and simple to operate, it required a lot of energy and hours to cultivate 1 hectare. The present administration is out to change this system by providing simple and affordable heavy-duty equipment for smallholder farmers. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security stated this in a message at the ongoing Special Agro Equipment Expo in Abuja.
Government commitment to agricultural mechanization goes beyond mere technological advancement. It is about empowering the farmers with the knowledge, skills, and tools they need to succeed in their farm business and to meet the global market demand.
Private investors within and outside the country appeal for waiver in importation of agricultural equipment towards reducing the cost of the items. They believe that traditional farming practices alone will not meet the growing demand for food in a rapidly changing world, as climate change, population growth, and resource constraints are significantly changing agricultural productivity and resilience.
The journey has started. I'm happy a committee has been inaugurated. The next time for a committee to meet, formulate policies, and then start implementing that policies. Implementation means that Nigeria has actually started revolutionizing.
Sustainable food security and agro-produce export through mechanization is the theme of the 2024 Expo. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Before we go together, let's find out how Thursday's weather will look like. We're done with the news. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is Franklin F.A. Enjoy your evening.